Hi, I'm Louisa Willcox. Welcome to my podcast, ADHD and Money, with over 15 years' experience in the financial world. Having ADHD myself, I know how hard it can be to not only navigate this crazy entrepreneurial world, but also the challenges ADHD entrepreneurs have with managing money too. I know. You're probably thinking I'm terrible with money. I spend far too much. I'm just feeling out of control. I get told these things all the time. I promise you, you're not alone. But it doesn't need to be this way. This is my area of expertise. I've already helped countless ADHD entrepreneurs take control of their money, and I'm going to be spilling the secrets on how you too can do this. So let's get started, shall we? Hi and welcome back. Now today I'm going to be talking to you about money, business and life as always. Now if you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed or you really just need a push in the right direction, this episode is going to be for you. So make sure you've got that cuppa, get comfy and let's get to it. Now, we are on the 31st of January. I actually don't know where this month has gone. It has been incredibly fast, but at the same time, it feels like it has lasted an entire year itself. But there's something I want to talk to you about, the self-assessment deadline. Why do we leave it to the last minute? I run an accounting firm and I can't tell you now, it's one of the most stressful times of the year. January the 31st, same date every single year, yet somehow it sneaks up on so many business owners. Now, if you're rushing to get your tax return done at last minute, you aren't alone on this. But actually, I want to talk about why that's happening and how you can stop this stress cycle because it is really, really stressful doing it this way. Now, the best way is to avoid panic. Plan ahead. Every single month, you should be setting aside 20 to 30% of your earnings in a separate account. Now, this needs to be treated like a non-negotiable bill because it actually is. Whether we like it or not, we have to pay taxes. And actually, if you save up too much throughout the year and you get to your self-assessment submission and you've oversaved on your tax, it's great because you can put a little bit back and you can maybe go and treat yourself or put some in your savings. But the peace of mind you'll get from knowing your taxes are covered is completely priceless. And trust me, your future self will thank you. And I've had so many people come to me this month scrabbling around, rushing and panicking because they don't have the money for their taxes or they don't have their information together. But it comes at the same time every year. So please, for the next one, get yourself prepared. If you can, get yourself on software and make sure you have all your receipts and everything together so you can properly get to grips with it. And it's going to make you popping your self-assessment or sending it to a bookkeeper or an accountant much, much easier. And it's going to save you so much time in the long run. I really wanted just to say that this time because this year has been absolutely crazy. Now, another thing I really want to talk to you about. So this episode, I'm kind of going to be summarising the month a little bit and some things that have kind of come up whilst I've been running my financial education business. And I think this one's quite important. For anyone who's waiting for the perfect time to start something, I want you to know there is no perfect time. If you want to change, you have to make it happen. Too often we hold ourselves back because we're afraid of failing or we're waiting for someone to tell us it's okay. But the reality is no one is coming to give you permission. You have to take that step yourself, and every single small action adds up. So what is one thing you can do today to move forward? And then go and do it. And this is so important, especially as an entrepreneur, and even if you're not an entrepreneur listening to this, because I think sometimes when we go through life, we are waiting for someone to give us permission to something, to say, yes, go and do that. Yes, go and start that business or go and create that new venture. But actually, if you don't take the action to do that, it's not going to happen. For example, just before Christmas, I have invested in a new business, which is actually launching at the beginning of February with my husband. And yes, investment wise, it's quite a big risk financially, but the long-term outcome from it and return on investment is huge, and the impact it's going to have is huge as well. But if I hadn't taken that step now, our situation in a few years wouldn't be changing. And it's a scary step and it's hard. This month has been incredibly busy, not just running the accounting business, but actually running this financial education business and setting up a third business. You can imagine it has been completely chaotic. But if we don't take those actions, if we don't take those steps, nothing's going to happen. A little bit like my accounting business. I started off that business because I was made redundant and I was unable to be employed. Now, if I hadn't taken the steps to set my business up, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I actually can't think of being anywhere else. So it's just amazing. So please, if you want to do something, you don't need permission. Go and get it because even if it doesn't work, that's okay. You will learn something in the process. And this month, I have had an incredible amount of calls with fellow entrepreneurs who have been great, but they've all been really worried about money. And it's quite common in January, obviously, with the self-assessments just after Christmas, and this month feels really, really long. But I'm hearing the same thing time and time again. I just need to make more sales and then I'll be fine. The thing is, more money sounds like the answer, but actually, if you don't understand how to look after that money, if you don't have control over your finances, more income actually just means more spending. It's called life inflation. So the more money you bring in, the more is going to go out. Because actually, without financial literacy, what happens is people think, oh, I've got an extra £1,000 a month. That's great. I can get a better car, a bigger house. I can go on a fancier holiday without actually understanding the numbers and actually understanding how that money needs to be used. So it might be that you need to create an emergency fund. It might be that you need to pay down some debt or actually put some money towards an investment. So understand your numbers, know your expenses, track your cash flow, and make sure you're actually keeping profit in your business. Because it's not actually about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and how well you use it. And I have worked with so many entrepreneurs over the last couple of years, and those who are turning over more, so 6, 7 figure entrepreneurs, usually aren't as profitable as those who are turning over less. And that's because there's more expenses and not having the knowledge on how to handle the money, not understanding that if you don't make a profit, you can't just take money out if you're a limited business. There are so many different things that comes into play. And you don't have to have a huge business to be profitable either. Just remember that it's not always about the sales. Sales is a big part of it, but you need to make sure you're managing your money alongside that. Otherwise, those sales will just end up being going into nothing. And it is so easy, especially if you have ADHD, it's so easy to get into that spending splurge or get into that dopamine effect and spend without really thinking about it, spend without meaning to, and get the shiny object syndrome, all the courses and all the things. So, um, make sure you know how to handle your numbers. Something else I want to say to you, if you are struggling financially, if you are running your own business and you just don't have the money coming in, it is okay to go and get yourself a job whilst you build up your business. I don't understand why so many are allowing themselves to struggle, which is literally destroying their mental health and keeping them awake at night, when you can go and get a job, even a part-time one, to just help you in the meantime. There is no shame in doing this, and you're really not a failure. And yet, for some reason, we think we are if we have to do this. Some of the best entrepreneurs in the world actually had a job alongside starting their business. Because at the end of the day, they needed to eat and they need to keep a roof over their heads. So please, if you're in this situation, stop struggling. If you need to, go and get another job, go and do some extra work just to tide things over whilst you're building it up. Because it's not forever. You're not saying, I'm not going to do this, but actually, it's going to help things. It's going to make things a bit easier for you. And financially, it's going to take a hell of a lot of stress away. Even the CEO of Amazon had another job alongside starting that company. And look how big it is now. It's okay to do this. Now, something I am seeing quite a bit, especially on YouTube, is I've seen some real shocking money influencer videos lately where people are being absolutely torn apart for their financial mistakes. Now, it's really not helpful, it's actually really harmful. Last week, I went to London and I went to a networking event, which was absolutely brilliant. It was on Oxford Street, it was great. But a business owner actually started talking about one of these videos. And I have to admit, I went on quite a long rant because it really gets my back up. I actually think the videos are really unhealthy and I really feel for the guests who go on to the channel. Now, don't get me wrong, I know they're going on there voluntarily. I'm sure they've seen the other videos, but I actually don't think it's the right way to go around your finances, to go around money. We all make money decisions based on what we know at the time and how our life is at the time. Instead of shaming people, we need to focus on learning and moving forward. And ripping into someone because they've got some debt or they've spent some money that they maybe shouldn't have spent is not okay. It's about going, okay, you've done these things in the past, you can't change the past, but you can take the steps to create a better financial future. So if you see someone struggling, lift them up instead of tearing them down. And this subject really does get me quite cross because money shaming does so much more harm than good. It doesn't teach, it doesn't uplift, it literally isolates and discourages people from taking control of their finances. And that's not okay. We need to be breaking the cycle and offer support instead. I literally create safe spaces for people to come and discuss money, no matter how much you do or do not have. It doesn't matter. It's not about shaming. It's about learning and educating and making changes for the future. And I do honestly think those channels are really damaging, and I do feel for the people that go on. I'm sure after they've gone and changed their life, but it's just not okay. We don't need to be talking to people like it. There's literally no need to be so disrespectful to people. Have respect, be professional, be confident, learn, and go forwards with it. Money at the end of the day is a skill that has to be learned, and we are not taught it in school. So, yeah, we need to educate ourselves. Now, I am actually quite excited because on the 1st of February, I believe, I will have been running my accounting business for 4 years as a limited company. Now, I have to say, it's been an incredible journey. I've learned a lot along the way. A few key lessons I wanted to share with you because actually, after 4 years, I have learned quite a bit and I've changed a hell of a lot in myself as well. The biggest one is to surround yourself with the right people. Um, when I look at my journey as an entrepreneur, going from a sole trader to a limited company, and it now being 4 years later as a limited company, and I've actually been an entrepreneur for 5 or 6 years now, so I've done quite a bit. And those 4 years, and actually the 2 years before, I've been profitable as well because I've been keeping my finances in check, which you should be doing. Keep your finances in check, make sure you know where your money's going, look after it, make sure you save for your taxes, as I said earlier. But the biggest thing is surrounding yourself with the right people. I've shared quite openly in my other episodes the journey that we've gone on with my son and his operations. And obviously, being a mum in our household, I do. My husband is great, but I do run around the children quite a bit. My husband's employed in a full-time work, and I'm the one working at home. So, of course, I am doing the school runs, I'm picking my children up. I'm doing a lot of those things. Although my husband, I have to say, does do the morning school run of our youngest. But I do pick them up from school and all of those, and it is a real juggle. And actually, the way that our family situation is now is kind of only really changed in the last year because before that it was very heavily on me, and that was perfectly okay at the time. But the reason I'm sharing this with yourself is because you need to surround yourself with the right people. And you need to remember that the tough days don't mean failure, they're just part of the process because there's going to be some tough days. And if you're building something, keep going because the best things do take time. I have made some decisions in the past that probably weren't the best decisions at the time, but they were learning. And actually, by surrounding myself with great people, by building a team, it's really helped to stay on track. And one of the biggest things I've done is actually getting a VA, which has been absolutely brilliant because she is a life saver, helps me stay on track, helps me know where things are going. But definitely keep learning. Business is a journey, entrepreneurship is a journey, and I honestly believe that it is about self-progress and self-growth and for yourself and your business as you go along. Because where your business is at the beginning is not where it's going to be a few years down the line. Like I can tell you now, my businesses look very different today to how they did even 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago. And in fact, my very, very first business was actually a cake business just before COVID. And now I run an accounting business, a financial education company, and then I'm launching a street dance school next week, actually. Completely different to what I started off with. So we never know where things are going to go, but keep going because it's a hard journey, but it's so worth it. And it gives you so much freedom. I genuinely don't know if I could go and be employed now because of the freedom that you get when you're an entrepreneur. I thought I would also update you, because I know I have a lot of fellow Sen parents who listen to this podcast, about how things have changed since I won the court case against the local authority last year. So if you are new to my podcast, I took the local authority to court and I fought an 18-month court case battle where I self-represented myself to get my son into the right school. He has cerebral palsy and autism, and mainstream school does not meet his needs. He doesn't fit into their criteria or their check boxes. The school system's very broken, whole different topic altogether, but I took them to court and I actually won. And September last year, he did start a new school, which is absolutely brilliant. I'm going to tell you now, it was one of the hardest things I've done, but honestly, it's been so worth it. Now he's in the right school, he's happy, he's thriving, he's got a lot more attitude, but he is so much more independent and coming out of his own shell. Now, for any of you who are fighting for your children, please keep going. You really do know your child best. Trust your instinct and push for what they need, and know that you are doing an amazing job. It is not an easy journey being a SEND parent. It's really, really tough, and we constantly have to fight against the system. But I'm genuinely so pleased that I did that. And life is so different now to what it was at the beginning of last year because he is just so much happier and more confident, and things are less stressful at home. And it's just absolutely great. And he's gone from being wheelchair bound to actually walking a bit with his crutches and has actually even taken a few unaided steps because he had his double hip reconstruction a couple of years ago, and we didn't know when he would get to that point. And I honestly believe if he had stayed in mainstream school, it wouldn't have happened yet. But because this new school is supporting him in the right ways, he has actually started trying to take some steps indoors, which is absolutely brilliant. And it has just been fantastic. Life has changed so much. Um, let's talk a little bit about work-life balance. Something I want you to know is you don't have to do it all. Running a business, parenting, managing a whole household, you can't do it all on your own, and that's okay. Outsource where you can. Like I said earlier, I've got a VA, and don't be afraid to ask for help. But most importantly, in all of this, prioritize your health. That's definitely something I've learned on my business journey. If there's been years where I took on too much and I grew my business far too quickly to the point it was unhealthy. But when I stepped backwards and I re-evaluated things and I started prioritizing my health and built up a proper team around me to be able to build and scale again, it's made a massive, massive difference, not just to my business, but myself, mentally and physically, but also at home as well, and for my family too. Now, your business needs you at your best, and so does your family, and if you've got children, your children. So look after yourself. And I think one of the biggest game-changing habits I've made is really setting clear boundaries. Work when you work, rest when you rest. It is a total mindset shift, and it makes all the difference. And I know it sounds really weird, and I do know as a business owner, we don't really stop, and our mind is on the go all the time. Like I wake up at 2 a.m. with ideas. It's really frustrating, and it's normal when you're an entrepreneur. But it is okay to step back and say, I'm not working after this time. So the biggest things I've done is my mobile now goes on sleep mode at 8 o'clock at night, and I can choose whether I'm looking at it or not. There may be, don't get me wrong, there may be some nights where I do work beyond that. I've had to this month because of the new business that we're launching, but actually having it on sleep mode so I'm not getting the notifications just mentally helps so much because it's not constantly pinging. And then it doesn't come back on again until about 7 in the morning when I'm usually awake. And again, my phone would be going from about 5 in the morning. Now we're in all these groups. So it just stops all of that happening. And it's just been such a game changer. The other thing is really prioritizing exercise, however that looks for you, and eating good, decent food. We decided last year as a household that we were going to go to butchers more, go to greengrocers more, and use supermarkets left. And actually, the taste and quality in food is massively different. But actually, as health-wise, we haven't had all the illnesses that have been going around. And we've been much more healthier than ever before. And I do definitely think it makes a massive difference. Right, that is everything today. Hopefully, you've taken something away from this episode that you can put into action. If you've enjoyed it, let me know. And if there's something you want me to cover next time, please send me a message. I'm always open to ideas. Remember, small changes lead to big results. Take action, trust yourself, and keep moving forwards. See you next time.